Hi kids, Dr. Fixmaster here. Today we are going to fix the driver's side half shaft of a 2008 Honda Civic EX. So we're going to, there's a bad CV joint on that axle. We're going to, because you can get the whole thing in one piece for relatively cheap, we're going to replace the entire axle. Step one is jack it up, put it on jack stands, and take the tire off. So put it in places where you got frame on the vehicle, not soft stuff that's going to compress. I put that one under the tow hook just to, it's not really supporting anything, but it's just there for safety purposes. And now we take the tire off. Okay, I'm going to need the tire to be on when I take the axle hub nut right there off to help me out. I got to get to it by popping off that Honda logo, and you can do that on the back side here. Just pop it out right there. That'll give me access. I can have the tire on. It'll help me leverage that axle hub nut, spindle nut, a little bit more. That Honda logo thing just popped right out very easily, and now I got to prepare this spindle nut so that I can get it off. Look real close there. The nut has got a divot in the end that rides in a groove on the spindle. That's to prevent it from rotating. So I'm going to use this special tool, which is specifically designed for unbending this. I'll have to tap it with a hammer until that thing flattens back out, so I can turn that spindle nut and get it off. This is actually a Toyota tool for my Sienna, but it will work just fine for this Honda Civic. And I've seen people also use screwdrivers of the right size, whatever you can use that will work. But you gotta, I like to have the special tool because it's nice hardened steel and it's not gonna, probably less likely for me to do damage. These are, I think this cost me 25 bucks, which is a complete rip-off, but I'm gonna have to buy one. Okay, I got that all bent out now, so I should be able to rotate that off. I sprayed a little bit of this bolt blaster PB penetrating catalyst on my spindle nut. Tap it for a few minutes to get that stuff soaking in so it breaks loose a little bit easier. I don't know how this is going to go yet. I might have to put the tire back on to get it off, but we'll see. This is a 32mm spindle nut. It needs one of these 32mm deep socket. I prefer 3/4 inch drive. This is a 1/2 inch drive. I've sheared a lot of 1/2 inch drive bolts when working on my Jeep, trying to get these axle hub nuts off. But it is nice to have a 3/4, or excuse me, a 1/2 inch drive, because that's what my torque wrench is. So when I'm going to need a socket for that anyway, to put it back on to get the right torque on it. Sometimes to get them off, I've really had to use long extender bars and sections of pipe to get leverage on it, and 3/4 inch drive to so it doesn't shear off. See, for Honda Civic maybe we'll be okay with just this 1/2 inch drive. Alright, without too much trouble, the spindle nut is now off. Next step is to come underneath here and 17mm socket on 1, 2, 3 bolts to free this, I don't even know what it's called, this ball joint support. Those 3 bolts right there will let that free up so that I can swing this whole hub assembly out of the way and free up that axle that's going to get replaced. Okay, I finally got the ball joint free. Now this is swinging, so I can get the axle out of there now. But big problem was freeing up that ball joint, getting those 3 bolts, these 3 bolt studs to come, 2 studs and then just 1 empty hole. But I had to free those 2 studs. The key to that was this stabilizer bar right here. That guy comes through here and is attached by a bolt that sticks through right there. You have to free that up. I took that nut off and disconnected that stabilizer bar, and this allows this this arm here that I'm grabbing to swing downwards so that it frees up these bolts. That's the key to that. And now I think that's the last of the major obstacles. So now what I'm going to do is tap on this spindle nut while I'm pulling on this hub assembly, and hopefully that'll free that axle up and I can remove it. Okay, I got the spindle free. Now all I have to do is separate it from the transmission over there. Now the key to that is taking a small pry bar between the end of the half shaft and the transmission, and there's just a little clip that's on the gear that goes into the transmission that you have to jar loose, and just by smacking the pry bar with the end stuck on the other side of there is what you need to dislodge that, and then you just remove the thing. It's just one little clip, so don't be afraid to smack it. Okay, this is what I was talking about from an underneath angle. Pry bar goes right in there between the transmission and the end of the axle, and you just pop that thing. Alright, there's a picture of it. It's back in. Not bad. Okay, let's complete the job of this CV axle replacement. My memory card filled up right in the middle of the job, so I was unable to finish recording. But you were able to see everything up to the point where I removed it, put the pry bar in between the end of the axle and the transmission, smacked it with my hand. It pried out. There's a clip on the end of the splines on the axle itself, and that's why it requires some jarring to get it both in and out. So the new axle was just reverse process of removing the old one. You have to put it in place and rotate it a little bit to make sure that the splines engage correctly. You'll feel that when you feel resistance going in, and then there will be about a ½ to an inch gap between the large part of the axle where the joint is and the transmission itself, and you really have to give it a good shove, kind of a wrestling match there, but eventually that clip on the inside will compress just a little bit and you'll feel it pop into place. So I slid it in that way. When you do that, then you just swing the hub assembly out, get the splines from the end of the axle back in place, and you feed it into the hub. Most of the time those slide in there pretty easily, and I greased mine up because I had some trouble with it and I wrestled with it for a while. Finally I just pushed really hard and was able to get it to feed in. It was more difficult than I was expecting, but it got in there fine. And then I torqued it down. I think it was 134 or 137 foot-pounds to put that spindle nut back on. You put that same tool or a chisel or something and put a nice dent in the spindle nut, in the little groove that's there on the new axle, and then just reassemble everything, and you're finished. And all the clicking noises that I was having trouble with on that Honda when I would turn sharp corners, that's all gone now, so it's driving like a new car. So that's very satisfying. Thanks for watching.